What's awesome, you guys are about you especially. You guys are closer to my height, so I don't have to. If I know if I have you framed, I have me framed. All right. Marcus Ely here for Status Coup, and I'm here in Iowa at the Bernie Sanders New Year's party. So met randomly with a couple of local climate activists. Can you tell everybody your names?
Yes, I'm Channing Dutton. I'm from West Des Moines.
Okay.
Michael Gillespie from Maxwell.
And what all do you guys specifically do out here in Iowa as far as activism?
Well, Michael and I met for the first time tonight, and what brought us together was climate change, because I've been carrying these signs here at the Bernie event, and I'm not sure that either of us is per se dyed-in-the-wool Bernie, but we're interested in climate change. We're interested in making it issue number one. So I'm down here tonight really talking to his supporters, trying to motivate them to, even with a great guy like Bernie, trying to motivate them to demand that he be even stronger on climate change. Um,
I'm a Bernie supporter and an Elizabeth Warren supporter, and one of the reasons I support both of those candidates is that they're both strong on climate change. It's a terribly important issue. It's the issue that we have to begin to get right, or nothing else matters.
So it's some of my younger viewers are going to see this as kind of an intro to the Twilight Zone because there's always this statement, "Okay, boomer," and we have older folks that have basically made a situation for them. Obviously, it's not you guys. You guys don't have control over the levers, the power specifically, but you know what I mean. There was a situation created by the older generation, and
asleep at the switch.
yeah,
Asleep at the switch. Right.
and
I think it's true.
yeah. So how do you feel as an older person getting active and trying to talk to older folks and saying, "Hey, look, we need to make these changes. We need to go on climate," and to see this younger generation pushing harder than you guys are?
Michael, you want to go first?
Uh, yeah, I wrote for a Washington magazine for about 20 years, not about climate change, but about important political issues. And my impression is that as a parent and one day as a grandparent, uh, I bear some responsibility for this because you know we've already begun to see the downside of climate change. If you look at what's going on in Australia with the fires, if you look at the hurricanes on the Gulf Coast, we're already seeing the terrible effects of climate change, and we have to begin to deal with that. Why? It's not so important for my generation because I'm in my 70s, but my children are going to experience the downside of that. My children are going to suffer the effects of climate change. My grandchildren will suffer those effects, and why shouldn't they blame my generation? So we have a responsibility. My generation has a real responsibility to do something about this, and that would be my message to other people my age. Do something. It matters. If you love your children, if you love your grandchildren, do something.
You know, Michael and I just met tonight, but here's two guys. I'm 65, and we both have the same vision of what our duty is now. And that is we may have been asleep at the switch, we may have been slow to react, but now we've got the resources and we've got the energy, we've got the ability to communicate it. And so we're down here really talking and rallying Bernie supporters, do more. And that's this other sign that I have. I'm not sure how it displays, but we hand lettered that sign just coming down here, just saying, no matter who you are, even if you're Bernie Sanders, you can be better on climate because climate's going to demand a lot, especially for your generation and for your viewers. You guys are going to pay a big price for our foot dragging when we knew better.
And that's something I was actually having a conversation with some family last night about. If because if a solar flare hits us because of our weakened atmosphere and it knocks out our power grid, there goes the water for everybody. And that's you will literally see a situation where people are killing each other because they're dying of thirst in mass. because there's no clean water.
Michael was just talking about this, about what we think is going to be happening in the future.
There could be social unrest, and if we don't do something about climate change, if the powers that be don't seriously address climate change, there will be social unrest at some point. We look at the situation on the border now with migration for socioeconomic reasons from Central America, and our country's having a difficult time dealing with that. Our government's having a difficult time dealing with that. Or even deciding, how to deal with it. So what happens when we start having migration in this country because of, rising ocean levels, or hurricanes, increased hurricanes. These are serious problems that we're looking at, and if we don't start soon to do something about them, we will fail to do anything in a timely fashion.
Your viewers, I'm sure, have seen World War Z, the Brad Pitt movie. Well, sometimes on Twitter, I put up a graphic called World War C. C is in cat for climate. Because right now, I'm one who believes that our problem at the border is climate-based. Because people who are desperate move. And we know that with the heat and drought projections for Central America and for Mexico, they're not going to be coming for our jobs. They're going to be coming for our climate and for our water, and who could blame them? And so if you think of the zombies trying to climb the wall in World War Z, this is the folly of Trump's wall. You cannot build a wall high enough to stop a determined father of three from trying to help his own children.
It's funny that you said that because there are sections of Trump's wall. There was a section specifically of the wall that's already built. I saw this on Instagram, and some dude just scaled it like by hand with a rope and had a ladder with him, and then threw the ladder up, hooked it on, and like 10 people all climbed it, and they all hopped that fence. And I was just like, on video already? It's not even finished being built yet. This is beautiful. This is perfect.
This is for your wall.
But yeah, so kind of talking about that and thinking about the implications of what's going on, what do you, especially with the way our system's set up, those in power don't move unless you make them. Like, that's just the way it continuously works.
100% correct.
Yeah.
We have got to force them to do this.
Yeah. So what do you all, being older gentlemen that have seen, a lot of changes made in our system and seen what it took to get those changes made, what do you guys think that you see that could make that change, if anything? And I'm not even asking you to be fake hopeful, because a lot of times there's fake hope, but like,
I don't think you're talking to two guys who are fake hopeful. Yeah. We think there's trouble coming. My favorite story about what we can do at the right time is about World War II, because Americans love their cars, and in the 1940s they loved their cars too. And so if you would have said to an average American on December 6, 1941, one day before Pearl Harbor, that you would no longer be able to buy a new car, it would have been open warfare then. Oh, this is America. I can buy whatever I want. And yet, on December 7, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, and on January 1 of 1942, the U.S. Congress banned the sale of all cars. And on January 15, the Congress confiscated the entire new car inventory that was sitting across America for military use. So something's going to happen, like the Australian wildfires.
Hold on, wait a minute. I just need to... That's socialism. Oh my God! Watch yourself.
Hey, you're at a Bernie event.
I'm also an admitted actual Marxist. So
right, but these Australian wildfires, where the images are coming out of people standing in the water, challenging the surf to get away from the heat and the flames, being rescued by the Australian Navy. These are wake-up calls, and there's going to be an event, and it's going to motivate not only the old, but especially the young, and it's going to be time to climb the barricades and demand action. And when we do that, then the government will follow.
Climate change is the kind of issue that really demands the kind of total mobilization that Roosevelt organized from prior, with World War II. Well, not just the New Deal, but when the war happened, he mobilized the economy to meet that challenge, and I think we need something like that to deal with climate change. And I think that's what this Green New Deal talk is about. We have at least two progressive candidates in the current Democratic primary, Warren and Sanders, who are strong on those issues. And that to me is positive, and I'm hopeful about that. We'll see what happens, but I hope people will come out, during the caucuses and talk about climate and be active in that regard and ask questions about climate of all the candidates. That would be positive.
We got to get the Democratic Party to maybe host a debate with some progressive journalists of any kind.
Novel idea. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Well, and what's going on is there has been a sea change in terms of the Democratic candidates' willingness to push forward a climate plan. I mean, they all have one. Even Amy Klobuchar, who I find to be boring and I don't trust her on climate, but even Amy has a plan. And then you take Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, Tom Steyer, even Michael Bloomberg. The billionaires are in there throwing their money into the climate fight, even in advance of this election. And so we have lots of good choices.
One could argue that the billionaires are doing it in order to say that there's something more urgent than Medicare for all. Let's not do that because we need to take care of this.
Yeah, right. No, there's takes on this, and everyone's going to kind of find their own candidate of choice. But here's the key for your viewers: we need them. We need these young people voting climate right off the bat. That's this one. Talk climate. Be a climate. The backside says voter. Climate voter. Because if people don't vote climate, if we want Medicare for all, we've got to solve the climate problem. Because if we melt down the atmosphere, the economy's going to tumble with it. And when the economy tumbles, there goes our Medicare for all. There goes a woman's right to choose. There goes diminishing conflict around the planet. Because we're going to be so busy trying to save our tail from climate change that we won't have time to do anything else.
So because this one's going a little long, but I want to wrap it up, and I want to ask you this, just based on climate change alone, because Noam Chomsky said it recently. He said that the Republican Party is the greatest threat to humanity in human history, greatest organizational threat to humanity in human history, because of the way they enable ExxonMobil, Shell, British Petroleum, etc. The way that they enable. Completely agree.
Norm is 100% correct. The GOP is going to undo us, so we have to undo the GOP as fast as we can.
I agree with Chomsky on that, but I would say it's not the Republican Party alone. Traditionally, it hasn't been the Republican Party alone. It's been both parties, and the time for that kind of collusion in behalf of industry that destroys our climate is over. We can't have that anymore. Not if we care for our children and our grandchildren.
Perfect note to end it on. Get the money out of politics. Thank you guys so much.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.